Live from my mother's basement, here's Johnny. So, I wanted to take a quick trip down memory lane with you guys, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this is a list I put together because I am a fan of professional wrestling, and lately, as hard as it's been to try to follow the product, I keep falling back onto why I fell in love with it in the first place. And watching a lot of these videos from the Off the Rope show from the Shrike Daddy, where he's talking about the 12 Days of Christmas and all that, and his last couple of lists of, it just really kind of inspired me to make this list. And I know for his number 7 Days of Christmas video, he had something special planned, and I just wanted to do something like that too. I thought it was a really good time, especially it being the holidays, to just kind of be in a better spirit. And I just finished my final exams, so I really felt like I should get on here and make a video and contribute. So, this has nothing to do with really the Off the Rope Show 12 Days of Christmas. It's just my own list of just, over the years, unforgettably feel-good moments in my professional wrestling fandom, whatever the hell you want to call it. So this is going to be in no particular order. This is just as it came to me as I was thinking about them. There's quite a few, and if any of these resonate with you, then feel free to let me know down in the comment section below, okay? Awesome. So let's begin. The first one I have is Chavo Guerrero versus Norman Smiley over the feud with Pepe the Stick Horse. This was classy. I really enjoyed this. I thought that these two put on the hell of a program together, and the feud was culminated very nicely. And of all things, it was based around a stick horse. Just great wrestling action. Speaking of great wrestling action, my next one, Dean Malenko finally unmasks as the wrestler Cyclope when he won the Cruiserweight Battle Royal to face Jericho, after Jericho had gone at length to talk about how he was the man of 1,004 holds and all this other stuff, and it was hilarious. I really loved that moment at Slamboree. Dean Malenko got a huge pop when he unmasked, and it was just such another feel-good moment when I was watching WCW as a teen. The next one on the list is Undertaker defeats Kane at WrestleMania. I believe that was 14 too. I believe that was the same night that Austin won the title. It was it's a really feel-good moment for me when Undertaker, when I thought he really wasn't going to win, pulled it out against his brother, and it was just such a classic fucking match. Another feel-good moment for me was Hogan versus Warrior at WrestleMania 6, and not because the Ultimate Warrior won and not because Hogan lost, but because it was the chance where you had a guy on either side of the ring that you could cheer for, and every time the camera moved, you were just happy to see the match, and I was so excited about it. It was two of the biggest names that had ever collided before, and one of them wasn't a bad guy, and you didn't have to hate him or anything. And even at that young of an age, I mean, I was already a fan of Randy Savage forever, so it didn't matter what he did, But Hogan versus Warrior was an epic thing, and whenever I see it, it just gives me chills and reminds me of being a kid again, so that was cool. I have James Storm beats Bobby Roode at Bound for Glory. That was this year. That was another really feel-good moment. Storm got himself bloodied up early in the match, and it was brutal. And he just came back to tell such a really good story and finally get his comeuppance against his longtime friend turned, worst enemy. Chris Jericho interrupts The Rock on his debut to WWF. It was fucking hysterical. It was one of the things that helped Raw, finally kill off WCW. Let's see, and a couple more things here. I got quite a bit. Mick Foley wins the WWF title. That was a really feel-good moment for me. And I'm one of the people that switched over as soon as they said it was going to happen and announced it on Nitro. So, I was part of history there too. Um, I remember when Hulk Hogan debuted in WCW, you get that big fucking parade and everything, and I was just like really excited as a younger kid. Hogan to me was, and still is, partly, like the god of wrestling, and Triple H can go suck one, because he'll never be a Hulk Hogan to me. As much as Macho Man was my favorite wrestler, I was always excited to see Hulk Hogan because I knew that it was going to be big, you know? Uh, and so, ranking right up there is another Hogan moment when Goldberg defeated Hogan to win the world title match. If you know where you were when that happened, if you saw that, in the friggin', oh, such a great moment. It was so rewarding as a wrestling fan to see that, even if they gave it away on free TV, even if they fucked it up terribly, just during the time to know that, Goldberg was on this huge push, and to have him beat Hogan essentially clean on TV, it was like, whoa. I got some more WCW moments on here. This is the last one for a little bit. Does anybody remember when Lenny and Lodi became the tag team of the West Hollywood Blondes? It brought me back to when Stunning Steve Austin had that long hair, and it was such a bad ripoff, but it was so funny to me. Just reading this list really makes me smile, and I haven't done that in such a long time. One of my feel-good moments is at WrestleMania 14 again, when Mike Tyson helped Stone Cold become the WWF champion. It was a big deal for me. Another thing I'll never forget was Hulk Hogan's match against The Rock at WrestleMania 18. Such psychology. They had such mastery and control over that crowd. And then the fact that Vince wanted Hogan to go in there as the bad guy, and the crowd just said, no, we're going to cheer the shit out of you. It made me feel like we won that night. The fans really won. These are going to get kind of closer together now, I think. Austin Aries becomes the TNA champion. Nobody saw that coming, and when he held that belt up, you could just see the emotion in his own eyes, and it really kind of just rekindled that spark in me, as the wrestling fan that I am, that, continues to make me watch this stuff, because it's special moments like that that really make it worth it, I have Alberto Del Rio wins the Royal Rumble. That was really big for me, because Del Rio was one of my hand-picked guys that I really enjoy. And to see him get the chance to win the Royal Rumble and to get a title shot at WrestleMania was it was important to me as a fan. I know many of you might not feel that way, but, some of you guys felt really awesome when Sheamus won. And see how that turned out? So, it's not always great, but sometimes it's those big moments that you crave all year long, because you see the build to it, and then when it finally happens, it's a real good payoff. On this list, I came up with a couple of live events, shows that I've been to that have really helped keep me a fan. The first one that came to mind was last year, just around the same time, when I saw TNA live, and it was a wonderful show. And I can't tell you how much fun that was to go with my best friend and to go see wrestling live. Thinking about that got me thinking about when I saw the WWF live. I don't even remember what the fuck year it was. It might have been 98, it might have been 99. Anyway, they did it up in Albany at the then Pepsi Arena at the now Times Union Center. And it was Stone Cold versus The Undertaker versus Kane in a triple threat match, which they later had at a pay-per-view that summer, after the fact. So they were obviously trying out some new ideas. The whole place was electric and nuts. You wouldn't even believe it. There's a lot of cool things going on, and my friend Dan tried to take so many pictures, and none of them fucking came out. He got like Jeff Jarrett's leg, and Too Cool Scorpio was doing a move with the top rope. He got like this blue blur in the air, and the rest of it's just total darkness in the picture. It's fucking fantastic. Oh, but that's such a good time. We were there with his father and his mother, and we were just kids, but fuck it, like we were having the time of our life, and the father knew that, and the mother knew that, and they're just good people, and I look back on that as one of the crowning moments in my, being a fan that really makes it all worth it, is to say that I did that stuff with my best friend. And again, another live event. By the way, on the 30th of this month, right before New Year's, I'm going to see TNA live again. I just thought I would throw that out there. Same arena up in Albany. But this show particularly made me rekindle my passion for being a wrestling fan this year, because after the shit that I thought WWE was turning into after SummerSlam, and the road that we've had, and you're hearing about Hell in a Cell and me just stopping watching Raw altogether, when I saw Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore in Poughkeepsie, New York, in the old Civic Center, the Mid-Hudson Civic Center, where they had the debut of Elizabeth as Macho Man's manager, the same building. It was historic for me. It was wonderful for me. And I got to meet Maurice, and I got her autograph, and I met Tommy Dreamer's mom, and my friend Dan and I bought shirts from her, and she personally thanked us, and it was so awe-inspiring to see that many other people there that just really loved wrestling and didn't. It's like it says on the back of his shirt, man, no politics, no BS, just wrestling, and that was really what it was. It was such a feel-good show, and it was so rejuvenating for the spirit of this wrestling fan right here in front of you to go see it. One of my favorite fucking moments ever of being a wrestling fan was when my girlfriend Stephanie, the first time she ever made fun of Jeff Hardy, I fucking lost it, because everybody knows I'm not a big Hardy fan at all. I really just don't care for him, and it's kind of unfortunate, because he was one of the stars during the Attitude Era that blossomed out and kind of became something, but I don't give a shit. He's just not my cup of tea. But I remember the first time that she was making fun of his face paint and all this other shit, and I just lost it. Like, I couldn't stop laughing. Thinking about it now is oh god. Another one of those unforgettable type feel-good moments is when Macho Man and Hulk Hogan joined forces as the Mega Powers, and the interview that they did. Yeah, the Mega Powers. Yeah, I don't have anybody else to shake hands with. This is the best I can do, guys. But just that fucking handshake and just that interview. Oh, it's out of the stratosphere, brother. Who might even take over the whole solar system. Like, it was hot shit. I remember that to this day. I can almost recite the whole damn thing word for word. That's how much I remember it. And whether that's creepy or not, I don't know. But hey, I live in my mother's basement. I'm allowed to do these things. A couple more moments, and then I'll be done with you guys, and hopefully you'll be able to share with me some of yours. Booker T versus Chris Benoit in that best of 7, which later ended up being a best of 8 series for the United States title in WCW, was one of the best feuds I've ever seen, just on competition and wrestling ability alone. And when Booker T won that US title, it blew my fucking mind after that. It was such a well done program. And then I think they tried to repeat it back in WWE later, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Another Booker T moment, because he's one of my favorite performers ever, is when he won the WCW championship for the first time. I literally cried. Like, I just thought it was so beautiful when he finally accomplished his dream, and I was right there with him, because I was always a WCW fan, and I always will be. The Mick Foley's This Is Your Life segment with The Rock, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I've watched comedy specials that have had me side-splitting laughing, but I still don't get the kind of feel-good that I get out of that segment where The Rock was like, You cut the rock off at second base to his supposed ex-girlfriend. It was fucking hilarious. I remember when Eddie Guerrero won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 20, and I remember how good I felt then. It's really a good time. Um, I remember Hulk Hogan winning the title at WrestleMania 7 against Sergeant Slaughter, who had become the Iraqi sympathizer. And back in 1991, I was in the third grade, I think. And I hated Sergeant Slaughter for doing that. Why would you turn your back on America? And when Hulk Hogan brought the title back to the U.S., I fucking lost it because I have servicemen in my family. Do you remember when the Undertaker re-debuted the Dead Man gimmick after he had been the Biker Taker for so long, or the American Badass, or whatever the fuck you want to call him? That was tender to me. It was a good, touching moment when he did that, and I think it was appropriate. One of the moments I'll never ever forget in my wrestling, being a fan, is when Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon were feuding, and he went to the hospital dressed up in the scrubs and hit Vince over the head with a fucking bedpan, and the "kong" sound that made when he did it was, gives me chills. When Chris Jericho became the first undisputed champion, I literally almost shit my pants in disbelief, and to this day, I can say that I watched that and I believed in him the whole way, even though I thought it wasn't going to happen. I always wanted him to do that. Jericho has been one of my favorites since forever. My last two moments are really special to me because Macho Man, who is no longer with us, was and will always be my favorite professional wrestler. Nobody's ever going to top him for me. I'm sorry. I'm sure there'll be other wrestlers out there that, do great things and deserve to be somebody's favorite, but Macho Man takes the fucking cake with me. The first time he became the WWF champion and won the tournament, even if it was with some shady Hulk Hogan hitting somebody with a steel chair tactics, he beat Ted DiBiase, who was legit one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Also, he's in my top 10. So, I'm not lying to you. I try not to number my top 10 or my top 20 anything because I don't think that it's fair. But when he became the WWF champion and he put Liz up on his shoulder and he was a babyface at that point, I really felt happy as a fan, and I felt like it was the right thing, because he had been a villain for so long. I just loved him, and the crowd was eating it up, and they were ready for him to be a babyface. It was a good move, and I think that it really did a lot. And my last moment that I have written down is at WrestleMania 7, when the smoke cleared and Macho Man supposedly had lost the career-ending match, and Sensational Queen Sherry was kicking his ass after the fact, and who else comes to the ring but Miss Elizabeth again? And when they reunited and when they stood in the ring, he put her back up on his shoulder again, and I could fucking cry about it right now. It's so emotional. I remember that, and it was a beautiful thing, and you'll probably never see another thing like it as long as you live, at least in wrestling. It was such a fairy tale moment come true, and they got married at the SummerSlam after that, obviously, and just the way that he and she were such a big part of my childhood and a part of my wrestling, memories. Just that in general, that is my favorite feel-good moment ever. But at this particular point in time, before I stop the video, I just want to say to my best friend Dan, if you're watching this, I remember a lot of these with you, dude, and if it wasn't for you, I don't know who else. I might have just done it myself and never been half the fan that I was, because you've always been there for me as, like a big brother, and I really want to tell you how much I appreciate being a wrestling fan with you and how much it means to me. And I love you, dude. I love you like the brother that you are. And I can't wait till we go see TNA again. And I really hope that for the sake of, your future kids, or whatever happens if I have kids in the future, that we can pass this down to them and share all of these fun memories that I'm sure that you remember every single one of them just like I do to them. So thank you all for watching this video, and until next time, this is Johnny, live from his mother's basement, signing out.